Roll call, please.
Okay, who's ever scrunching around, stop doing it.
Roll call.
Maurice LaRosa,
Here.
Andrew Banowitz,
Here.
Mary Ann Turner, here. Charles Masterbirdy,
Here.
Kelly Davis,
Here.
Rob Kwasnicki,
Here.
Catherine Plopper,
Here.
Rich Stroni.
Here.
Okay. I better keep that handy.
We don't have a flag, do we? I guess we won't do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, Rob's got it.
Rob on my screen, but okay. We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag,
to
the United States of America, to the republic,
which stands one nation
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty and
liberty,
justice
justice for all.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to make old business after 6A, please.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we will move that down after 6A.
Do we have to vote?
There we go.
Or you want to move it after 6A or after 6?
Now I can hear you.
I'm sorry, no, I didn't hear you.
I said now I can hear everybody. For some reason, the computer was not letting me hook up the audio. I just fixed it.
Okay, Chairman, tell me what you said. I didn't hear you.
Made a motion to move it after 6A. Do you want to move it after 6 completely? 'Cause we
Yeah,
have A on-
that would make it 6A.
All 6
Or I
feet.
can move it further.
Well, we want to make it, we want to do both hearings before we do old business, correct?
Okay, so you want to make it 7A? After
Yeah.
minutes?
Yep.
I revise my motion to move bylaws to 7A. Who's the second?
Second.
Who?
Well,
Rich.
Kathleen was the second, right? Kathleen, did you second the motion?
No, I did not.
I just seconded the revised one, Marianne, if
Thank
that
you.
helps. You're
Yep.
welcome.
I was muted, sorry.
Can we have roll call, please?
Mola Rosa,
Yes.
Andrew Banowitz,
Yes.
Mary Ann Turner, yes. Charles Masterbirdy? Shake your head, yes. Kelly Davis?
Yes.
Passes. Next, we will go on to our public hearings. Marianne, legal notice, please.
ZBA 2020-11-01, 556 Haddard Avenue, auto location approval application for a general repairs license to operate a general repairs business in an existing garage. Richard Golick and Peter Slinlick, owners, Town Garage LLC, applicant map 110, lot 349, BL zone. ZBA 2020-11-13, 47 Wheeler Drive, variance application will allow an RV to be located forward of the front line of the house along Bell Acre Road. Justin LeBurn, owner applicant, map 80, lot 133, R33 zone, dated the 19th of November, 2020. Maurice LaRosa, chairman, and Mary Ann Turner, secretary.
All right, and we have the applicant for 556 Hazard Ave here with us.
Yes, we do. This is Rob Laviana, counsel for the applicant petitioner, James Fricke, who's with me here. He's the proposed lessee of the property. He's not the direct owner. He's the proposed lessee at this point.
Okay, can we get your address for the record as well, please?
Sure, it's 1461 North Grand, Grand Street, West Suffield, CT 06093.
Okay, and go ahead with your application. Let us know what it is you want to let us know.
Mr. Chairman, before we move forward, do we need to have a letter, Jen, from the owners regarding someone else speaking? Not that the lawyer can't speak, but the owners aren't here?
There is on file an authorization to present this application. Should be
Sorry,
in,
I didn't go further enough, sorry.
okay. Okay, so, all right, this is a existing facility. There's no anticipated change in usage of the facility. There's no expansion of the facility. The intent is to continue a repair facility. There is we will be going through DMV licensure process following subsequent to this. There won't be any car sales at this point. It's a very small footprint for the parking area anyway, so a car dealership would not be amenable to this location. But there is a one bay garage there, two bay garage. And again, it's just a resumption of the pre-existing business. The current owner purchased it in 1985, and they've been pretty much dormant for the last 4 or 5 years. So they're ready for retirement. And Mr. Fricky has been doing repairs for many years, and he's got his own clientele, so to speak, but he wants to expand and open his own full-time business. It's not going to be full-time day one, but it will phase in as he earns more business. It will be regular business hours, basically, nothing outside the normal business hours.
Questions from the board?
Jen, did you pull their conditions from when the business was there back in 1985?
I did. It looks like it's been a general repair use for dating all the way back into the 60s, actually. There was one condition that I found on one of the previous approvals that just said that no junk cars or inoperable vehicles can be stored outside. And that was on the 1970 approval. It doesn't look like they changed anything going all the way up through 1985.
They don't have anything in there for the working hours or anything?
No, all of the approvals were just straight K7 forms, applications, and signatures. There was just one letter from 1970 that had that one condition.
And I don't see that to be a problem because of the fact that there's such a small footprint there for storage to begin with, for parking. So, that would be a burden for the applicant to actually store vehicles there.
I did read in the documents that you've been requested to fix the driveway or the asphalt area and to stripe it. Is that the plan?
Again, we're not the owners, but as long as it's, we will discuss that with the owner. We'll probably end up covering that cost. Apparently some of the footprint pavement or surface area is not paved on the east side, left from the frontage. And again, because of the limited footprint, it's not a major negative, but sometimes I wonder, is there going to be value there with, sort of a retail footprint, or striping, because of the fact that,
Whoever put this up. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we don't have a problem with that. It's just, I'm just wondering, is it add value to the the property itself? Because if you notice on the east side of the building, that's actually a drive into the rear of the building, and that wouldn't be amenable to striping either. And in terms of the cracks, yeah, we can dress up the parking lot. That shouldn't be a problem. But again, we may need to defer that to spring, because sealant or crack fill is sort of seasonal to a degree. At least the seal coating is, I know. But we'll definitely, that's not going to be a problem to coordinate.
Okay, so are you saying you are gonna do it? Or
Uh,
you're thinking you might do it?
No, we'll do it, but I think we may need to defer until the spring in order to do a very, effective type result.
I don't, when I read this, I don't think they're asking you to like stripe in the back of the building. I went and drove out there yesterday,
Okay.
I mean, I'm not expecting that you're gonna go in the back of the building and make parking lot spaces or,
Well, see, this is a 2-story facility. The basement is a separate unit. We're not leasing the basement. And I think the base parking in the rear is actually designated for the basement use. So our parking strictly will be the front. And
what's in the basement?
I personally, I don't know, but I believe they have out in the past to some other folks. I don't know what operations or any details on who, where, what. But I know we're not leasing the bottom.
Well, wouldn't that be of interest to you to know what's underneath there if you're gonna have
Well,
some kind
yeah,
of
as long as they don't, as
auto
long-
repair?
right, as long as they don't interfere with our footprint in the front or the entire top floor, the main floor. As long as that doesn't interfere, we're good to go. And that will be, that's already in the lease, so that there's no interference from any, abutting type usage.
Yeah, but the issue I'm asking then is, do you have enough parking on this footprint for you and whoever's in the basement?
Well, right. And again, I'm the first to admit that it's a very narrow footprint. If you notice on that photo there's a truck there. So you're talking maybe 3 vehicles there on the east side. And again, if you're lucky, 3 on the other side. So, and then again, employees have to park there.
You also have to keep a driveway so they can get from the back to the front.
Right, exactly. So, but that's manageable. This is not a high volume operation. We're talking 2 bays maximum. And as far as I know, James, you're not anticipating the rear parking?
No.
Okay. Yeah, it was in the lease that we would only get the front parking and the main, the top of the building, basically.
Jen, I need to go to you. And I misunderstood then. Why would we have this applicant stripe the front at all if the owner of the property has 2 businesses on that property? Why wouldn't you make the owner of the property do that work? Because it has nothing to do with this guy.
Yeah, so the striping came up as just a comment from the engineering, like a recommendation from the engineering office. They were
Maybe
just
a
reviewing.
comment, but they don't write it down if they don't mean it.
Right. And we were unaware that there were more than one tenant in that building.
I think we need to go find out who the other tenant is. Can you do that? Not that that's going to hold this up, but I think we should know what the other tenant is and what they're doing down there.
Let me interrupt you. If you notice where that truck is, there's a plow on it. That's the unpaved portion. So that really is not amenable to striping.
Let me stop you for 1 second. The portion where the truck is parked.
Yep.
Is also not part of your property.
Well, you're right. There's a right of way there somewhere, and I believe it's pretty much where the truck is, though, or actually even beyond that. You can see the road there where the lane is and there's the breakdown lane.
But we can't give permission to use the state's property.
Right, exactly.
So
Okay.
I can't do any, where you see the yellow line, that's,
Yep.
I can't give you permission past that.
Oh, okay, all right. So you're saying the yellow line is the state right away?
Well, the yellow line, inside that yellow line is your property.
Yeah,
Where the
Got you.
plow truck is, the state may never come and complain about them
Right,
parking a plow
right.
truck there.
I
But I
understand.
can't give you permission to use state property. It's not.
Right, but if you look on the abutters, like on the right, the next property over 560, their driveway is on the state right away. Their house line is on the line. I mean, you're right, it's a mixed mash, it's, you know, it's probably not conforming in terms of setbacks, but, you know, that, you're right, if you can't order me to do anything here, I have no problem.
You're not expecting to store vehicles
No,
long-term
no,
here,
no,
right?
not
It's,
at all.
it's fix them and move
In
them
and out
out.
in the same day, ideally. Maybe, you know, if a severe repair may take a couple days for parts to be ordered.
Are these deep bays? Are they double deep bays or are they single deep bays?
No, they're double and probably
Yeah.
3 wide.
Okay, so you got a lot of dancing room in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Jen, I don't have an issue with what he wants to do there, but I do have a curiosity of what's in the basement. So is that something that we can ask you to send Rick out to go find out? I'm not
Yeah,
gonna,
we'll have to look at the prior approvals for that building and then take it from there under just zoning.
right, so how does that affect him coming into putting in a mechanic shop on one floor?
Well, that use has been approved for this location. Whatever the other uses are in the building, if they aren't approved, then we'll handle it. You know, we'll figure out if we can get them an approval or we'll figure out how to move up from there. But that would be through Planning and Zoning Commission.
What my concern is, and I have none to put on to say this out loud, is there could be a detrimental business in the bottom floor that he's not aware of that could cause him a problem trying to do his business. I think we need to know. You can't put him in a position. Let's just say they're doing something down there that could blow up upstairs. I don't really think he wants to be working on a car and get surprised.
Well, that's a risk, obviously, but, you know, I mean, in terms of, you know, is it appropriate or not? And that's another issue, I guess. But from our perspective, you know, we already anticipated no access to the basement or parking in the back.
Jen, how many parking spaces does he need for this to do his business upstairs per our regulations? Or because there's nothing in pre-conditions back to 1970,
I'm not sure how much he's required to have under the current regulations. I know the prior site plans that we show that have been approved under and that are in our files don't show any parking striped on that site plan, which is the one we have. I mean, I can go online and quickly look that up.
the reason I'm saying this is the problem with the K7 is one of the only things we hang our hat on is, okay, he's not next to a school, he's not next to a church, he's not next to a theater. Safety. Let's make sure we don't have a safety issue here that we aren't aware of.
If I may, this is Lori Witten. The use of the motor vehicle repair is already permitted. Any other use in that building may not be, and that is a zoning enforcement issue.
How did we get to this meeting and you did not know that there was something in the basement, Lori?
Because no one told us. I didn't even know there was a basement. It's a garage.
Let me interrupt again. It may just be storage. I don't know if there's a quote business in there. Someone may be just storing something there, you know. not an active, you know, day-to-day business. So,
Mr. Chairman, question for you. If this was already approved for auto repair, are we looking at this again because it's new ownership?
Looking at it because,
That's the only reason.
because of new ownership, yes.
Okay,
But as time goes on, things change.
Yep.
So as new owner takes over, we have to look at certain things. You know, like Marianne was saying, schools, churches, safety. So we don't have the schools and churches around, so we do look at safety. Has safety changed between the last time it was used to now as they move forward? I have a couple of questions. The first one is, you know, you don't typically see garages with dirt driveways like on the right side of this one. Because if you park cars there that are leaking fluids, where are the fluids going? There's no impervious surface, it's just dirt. Did we ever get a traffic study here? Because this intersection has changed a couple times since this business has last been opened. So what does the traffic officer think of a garage going in?
no, the police department had no objection. I don't know about the town engineer.
I don't know if the police department has an objection because I don't have that.
Yeah, that was in the record. It was, there was a comment from the police saying no objection.
Did I miss that, Jen?
It's on the bottom of the staff report, Mo, on the back page.
Okay,
The health department's the only one who didn't chime in.
all right. I must.
So I'm looking at the assessor's cards and there is a basement slash, they call it a first floor and a garage. But there is no
Garden?
indication of any other
Restaurant.
business there. And I'm just looking at the assessor's card right now. So just usually if they find another use, even if it's not permitted, they will list it. They don't care whether it's permitted or not. They will list whatever uses they find. So it sounds, it probably is just a storage area.
Then it wouldn't make sense that they would tell this new fella that he can't park in the back.
Well, you know, that's between him and the owner.
But it makes us concerned about the one issue with K7s that we can look at. It's concerning safety.
Concerning traffic safety.
Correct? I mean, really and
So
truly,
how does that bear into the safety issue? I mean,
because you haven't been able to tell me how much parking is required. And it doesn't matter if it wasn't in his previous conditions of 1970 or 1985.
yes, it does. It's grandfathered.
You have not shown me how much parking he's supposed to have.
It doesn't matter. It's whatever parking was allowed from the original
And
approval.
what was it?
The
I
plan that we
didn't-
have literally shows, you know, property lines and building. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, the
And-
building was built in 1940.
Because it's silent doesn't make it incorrect.
It's pre-existing the current zoning. So,
If it's pre-existing to current zoning, then it needs to have specific parking requirements.
if there was no requirements in 1940,
But the thing is, it's not stated in the conditions, which does not make it true.
It was approved in back before zoning, essentially. I mean,
Yeah.
it's been the same use since 1940. With the same parking, with the same configuration.
And you can't tell me what the parking is. And
We can't give you a map that doesn't exist.
And so we can tell you that under current regulations, Lori, under K7, we can look at safety,
Traffic safety, yes.
correct?
So
This
what
is
is,
traffic
what does
safety,
this-
Lori.
traffic safety is exiting, entering, I mean, the optimal would be, yes, we'd like to have it striped, but it's been this way forever. And I don't think that there's ever been any problem. Otherwise, the police probably would have said something.
Mo, I can't hear you.
I actually don't like that statement, but just because somebody hasn't said something doesn't mean there's not a problem. Okay. When we look at safety, we look at all aspects of safety, not just entering and exiting the property. We look at the safety around the property as well. So even though there's nothing written in the regulations from when this building was put in, we can limit the number of vehicles allowed on the property today. It doesn't get grandfathered where he can just fill the whole property with cars. That's not, we do it all the time when one store moves out and another store moves in, and the parking regulations change. We make the new store conform to the new regulation. And you can do the same thing with the garage. You know, if a new garage, old garage goes out and a new garage comes in, you can make the new garage conform to the new regulation.
But let me interrupt
Obviously, you can't get them to conform to side yard setbacks of the buildings there. That part's done. But things like parking are not in concrete.
Okay, the question now is, like you just acknowledged, the building's there, the side setbacks are there. There's only so much you can do.
Right.
And that's why the
Like-
question, I mean, you brought it to our attention that there's a possibility of another business in the basement. And until we go look, we have no idea how much parking. And it doesn't make a difference. It is a safety issue. But I'm not against this business moving forward. I just think there needs to be conditions on the zoning department to go look to make sure it doesn't cause the new applicant problems that he won't be able to solve after the fact.
We can
And
certainly
with-
look into that. For parking, for this use, the current standard is one space per employee, and then this zone is business local, which makes this use non-conforming. It's a pre-existing non-conforming, but the current parking requires three spots per service bay for business general use or a business general zone, and 6 spots per service bay in a business regional zone, and then one space per service vehicle.
So
So
how many
that's-
come up with
That's the,
this zone? Just tell me this zone.
that's the
It's
thing,
one
is that
for the employee.
it's not spelled out because it's the property's non-conforming as to use for the zone, just because it's been there since the early 1940s.
Right, and this guy, and this applicant doesn't own this property. He's just opening his business there. It's the owner that should be doing some of these maintenance issues around the parking area, because Mo's not incorrect about there being a dirt driveway, if that's what you want to call this thing.
Well, it's a dirt parking area. It's the driveway's on the west side, which is paved. It appears to be paved.
Yeah.
Yeah. The driveway, there's no driveway on the east side, which is unpaved. There's a little section here that's unpaved.
So to the applicant, how many car spaces do you feel you need?
Only a few, 3. It's not, it's just myself right now, so it wouldn't be, load me up with work, so I'm 24 hours a day,
Yeah.
Finish one and take another.
Yeah,
But could
Low volume.
could you fit 5 to 6 cars on that property feasibly and still be able to move around?
Yeah, and also I don't see inside being packed with cars also,
right, because you can move them around inside too as you're
Right.
waiting for parts or
Yeah,
do
exactly.
project and have to start another. I understand that. The bottom line to this is, in my opinion, this is that on the K7, you get to move forward, but we also want to look out for you. Please don't read this as that we're against this. We need to look out for you at the same time.
Right.
Okay.
Are there any other questions from the board?
Yeah, just are there any improvements that you're expected to need to do as part of taking over using this property?
Signage
Signage.
Just signage?
on the building, nothing outside off the building. Again, we'd need DOT permission on that, so we're gonna skip that.
Yep.
But again, we don't have any problem with, upgrading the asphalt as, as time goes along especially, but I think the spring would be more, amenable to any of those type repairs.
No, and I'm not suggesting anything about the asphalt. The town engineers have addressed that with their recommendations. It's more just, I'm just happy that this building will be used. So, any improvement's a good thing for this area.
And I'm reading your description of operations, and again, we have no idea. It's saying the maximum operation is pretty much 7 days. What does normal business hours mean to you?
Well, initially very limited because he's phasing
Right,
into this
Yeah, but
operation.
let's make believe he's there 10 years. Business
Okay.
is flourishing.
All
He's
right.
hired a couple of guys. The world's a happy
Yeah,
place.
yeah, usually 7 to 5-ish.
And you're thinking that on Saturday and Sunday?
Not,
No.
probably not Sunday. He needs a life, basically. But maybe AM Saturday
Yeah.
because some customers are, they work during the week and they can't get out there.
And again, this is one of the things, Jen, where we can't, as ZBA, make conditions, but this is the kind of stuff when we have something of this age that planning and zoning, in my opinion, should be helping the applicant put in conditions that are conducive for the business as well as for them. Okay, and when we leave this open-ended, it just makes the next person who comes along in the same vein to have the same issues. And I don't know how we fix this, but we've had this conversation with every K7 that's come in front of us. And the fact that you don't have any conditions in there from 1940 does not make me feel much better.
I just found that one condition from 1970.
So on the
Questions of the board?
opposite topic on this, Chairman, I would prefer that when we go into our our zoning rule changes, which the planning department is working on, that this be a consideration on K7s.
Discuss that.
Can we put that in writing and get it to the chairman of the planning and zoning? Sure, the secretary will write that up.
But again, just to be realistic, you're limited to the existing site. And, I know the intent is positive, but everybody's restricted with what can be accomplished.
You're right. And I just want him to have a successful business. I don't want us to impede him.
Any other questions of the board? Is there anybody here to speak in favor or against the application? Is there anybody here to speak in favor or against the application? Last time, is there anybody here to speak in favor or against the application? All right, does the applicant have anything to say for the final time?
Basically that we do request that the town authorize the use as a special permit to continue with the existing operation. And if there are conditions that we do, have some time in order to remedy those concerns.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Do we have to close the public hearing first?
I move to close the public hearing.
Second to close the public hearing.
Andrew did, second. Can we take this off the screen? Whoever put it up, thank you. Do we need to have a vote on closing the public hearing?
Yes, roll
Yes.
call, please.
Rola Rosa,
Yes.
Andrew Abanowitz,
Yes.
Mary Ann Turner, yes. Charles Masterbirdy. Shaking your head, Charlie? Okay. Kelly Davis,
Yes.
okay. 500. Mo, you can't hear you.
I said you made a motion to approve. Who seconded it?
Somebody second it, please.
I'll second
I
it.
second it.
Discussion.
I think that it's a viable business in a perfect location. If I have any condition, it's to the planning office. And that they go find out what's in that second story or first floor or basement or whatever it's called prior to him moving forward so that he is not surprised. And that we find out what kind of parking they're gonna have on that property for that second business. And we know exactly what it does down there.
We will.
Do I need to put that in the, this paperwork? Jen?
If you want to make it an official condition, if you just want to make that a staff directive, we can do that too. That's up to the
Mo,
board.
what's your suggestion?
That,
What is your suggestion?
on that, I would just do that part of it as a staff, for the staff. Because making it a condition for whether or not he gets to open up is the wrong thing. We
Right,
shouldn't condition his business on something else, or somebody
Correct.
else's business.
Right.
So I would just make that something for the staff to check on.
and how soon will you do it?
I'll talk to Rick about it tomorrow.
Any other comments? I would like us to entertain the thought of limiting his repair space to 6 inoperable vehicles. I asked the question, he said 3 was plenty. But I'm thinking of times where he may want to expand. He said he's starting off small, but wants to grow a little bit. But you don't want to see this turn into a junkyard either. He's a small shop. He doesn't need a lot of repair space. But 6 vehicles worth of repair space, I think, would work. And that way there, if he does get access to the back, we're not just filling the yard with cars that need repair.
So
Said he was
just to
going-
clarify, you're talking 6 vehicles with respect to work in
Sir,
process, not,
Sir, the public hearing's closed.
okay.
Yes, I'm talking about 6 vehicles that need to be repaired
Right.
outside the building.
Mo, you use the word unoperative vehicles. Do you mean that, or you just mean vehicles?
No, I mean vehicles that are in need of repair. They don't have to be inoperable, but in need
Right.
of repair.
Got it.
So he can have however many fit in the building he wants. But outside the building, I'd like to see us limit it to 6.
So hang on, I have a question to you then. If
Okay.
he has 6 outside and he has employees that need to park, and let's just say at the long stretch, he has 3. Where's he gonna put all these?
Well, then do you want to limit it to 3?
I think
I think we need to I think a number should be put on it.
but okay, but I'm on board with you, because again, we don't wanna tie his hands. So I'm agreeing that maybe it's 6 total vehicles, period, not specific.
Okay, I can go.
Because
with
right
that.
now, it's him. So he could have 5 vehicles in process.
Right.
Tomorrow, there could be 3 of him. That means he can only have 3 left in process.
True.
So couldn't we just call it 6
6
vehicles?
outside the building. Anybody else have any thoughts on that?
Does that include employees?
That's what we just,
So it includes employees and cars to be fixed. And what about cars inside?
Nope.
Does that count?
He can
No.
put as many cars inside the building as he can fit.
Yeah.
right.
I'm not really sure that you have the purview to be doing this, but
Well, we've been
I
told
guess
that we
it's-
did.
pardon,
We've been told in the past that we did,
that you could limit their parking?
that we could limit the number of, yeah. And we've done it on other K7s.
Okay.
What would you prefer, Jen?
We've reviewed other site plans that have had cars outside. I think we've always carried over conditions in the past. In the past, there's always been conditions on these old sites that say, you know, no inoperable vehicles can be stored outside. And that's to prevent vehicles, you know, with missing pieces from being stored out there. I think that's where that stems from. What we normally, or what the board normally does, is carries through those conditions. In today's world, they removed the clarifying information from the state statutes. So we're a little bit in gray territory here. The only guiding thing that we have now is to say that, you know, we look at what's on file for the existing facilities, and we look at those several things based on safety and proximity to schools and intersections and blah, blah, blah.
Okay, so let's back up to the one condition.
Yeah, at this point, I would say, the old condition in this case was that he could have no vehicles outside.
Well,
And
didn't
so I
you
think you're
say,
giving a little more leeway in this case. And
Jen, didn't you say the words were, no junk cars can be stored?
no junk vehicles or junk or inoperable
No.
vehicles stored outside.
Read me exactly what the condition was. Because I wrote it down to say, no junk cars can be stored outside. And junk is,
Approval.
go ahead.
Approval is contingent upon the restrictions that no inoperative or junk vehicles are to be stored on the premises.
Which would make sense, because if it's not fixed, it shouldn't stay there.
Well, sometimes when people work on cars, from experience that I have, things aren't operable for a little bit of time while they're being fixed.
Mary Ann, we did the same thing with another place where we told them that whatever vehicles they didn't finish repairing that day had to go inside.
Right.
And they couldn't store anything outside.
Correct.
So we could do the same thing with this.
No, they had that in their conditions, Mo.
Yeah, so that's basically the same thing. Any vehicle that's not repaired that day can't be stored outside the building.
That's not, but that's where we're getting ourselves twisted, and we have to be careful because of those stupid, we can't condition.
We can on a K7. We have on several other ones.
I will bow to you, Mr. Chair.
Have we not?
I just
So-
don't want to make it difficult for him to do his business.
Jen, if that's already in there, then he can't store anything outside at night when he closes, correct?
This is the 1970 approval. So, this is a different approval now.
But we can opt to carry.
We have in the
those-
past carried them forward. I don't know. Lori, I don't know if you have anything to opine on that. We have, I mean, we have in the past carried the conditions forward from the past approvals.
Thoughts, Lori?
I don't know the total history in Enfield, but I believe that that can happen. You usually would carry the conditions along with it.
So am I reading that the same way you are? He doesn't have any vehicles that need repair outside his building at night?
Right, it says no junk or inoperable vehicles are to be stored on the premises.
Which I think by definition is something that it's understood that they might be inoperable while they're being repaired. But if it's there for, 3 months, then we've got an issue because it shouldn't take 3 months to repair a car. And unfortunately, the applicant can't opine on this at all either because the public hearing is closed. This should have been brought up with the applicant's
Well,
ability
that's
to
why I
speak
brought
to
up
it.
the number of parking spaces and nobody else said anything.
Now, we talked about it.
Yeah.
So I'm okay.
did.
I'm okay moving that condition forward. And just leaving it at that.
Okay, so give me the condition again, Mo. Limit repair space to 6 vehicles
No,
outside.
we're just gonna move the condition that the current condition forward.
No inoperable or junk vehicles can be stored outside.
There you go.
Okay.
Anybody have anything else? Sensing nothing, roll call, please.
Do we need a motion first? Or did we do that already? Pardon?
Huh?
Go ahead, Jen.
Yep, Marianne, you made a motion to approve. I have Kelly Davis as seconding it, and then we were in discussion.
Okay. Maurice LaRosa,
Yes.
Andrew Abanowitz,
Yes.
Marianne Turner, yes. Charles Masterbirdy, yes.
Yes.
Kelly Davis.
Yes.
Okay, and it goes with the one condition of no inoperable or junk vehicles can be stored outside. And the caveat of not in this written document is that the planning and zoning office will look into this building downstairs and come back to this board either by email or next meeting if it takes that long to what's in it.
Sounds good.
All right, sir, good luck with your garage. Did
Who
you leave?
seconded it? Kelly?
Yes.
Yep.
And it looks like the applicant's left, so you'll contact them?
The applicants are still on.
We're still here.
Oh, okay. You're all set. Get in touch with the planning department and good luck with your garage.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate everyone's help.
Have a great night.
You too. Bye.
Good evening. They didn't say nothing.
So the applicant for 47 Wheeler Drive. Will you state your name and address for the record, please?
Justin LeBron, owner and occupant of 47 Wheeler Drive.
And go ahead with your application, please.
I basically had filled out an application for a variance to see if I could be allowed to continue to park my RV, I should say camper trailer, next to my garage, which is actually, it's very kind of a funky situation. I live in a corner lot. Apparently, according to the town records, I have 3 road frontages. My property borders Hasmar, borders Bell Acre, so doesn't it border Wheeler. But being in the Shaker Pine community, all the roads are kind of funky. Where my house is the last house on that side on Wheeler, then the next house over, if you look to the left of the RV, that then becomes West Shore. The person that basically has made this kind of an issue is my neighbor that actually lives directly across the street to Bell Acre, which is number 1 West Shore. That he still apparently told the town he wanted to stay anonymous. I've had nothing but headaches with this guy. He basically complains about anything I do on my property. So that's why basically I've took it upon liberty to come to the town to see if I can apply for a variance. I did purchase this RV almost 2 years ago. When I did get it, it was in really, really severe disrepair, but I've since renovated it. It's completely been repainted. The vehicle has gone camping a couple times. It is not actually at a campground right now just because money's been kind of limited. But I'd like to be able to see if I can actually, since it is registered, keep it on my property. I mean, there are plenty of other addresses. I mean, I'm not sure if you guys got a chance to drive through the neighborhood. Just about every other house in this neighborhood has a camper. I'm not trying to speak for the other individuals. I mean, I understand according to Rick Priscelli down at the planning and zoning that if it's one of those kind of catch-22s where it's one of those things where if it's something against zoning, they're not going to say something unless somebody says something about it. And this person that apparently decided to remain anonymous is, if you look over on the view, number 1, that's the guy that keeps complaining. I've had other neighbors that have spoken to this guy saying, "Why do you mess with me, with Mr. LeBrun all the time?" And he just basically seems to respond saying he gets a thrill out of messing with me. So he also feels because he has a government protected job that he can basically go to town for everything. So this is why I'm here. I basically want to see if I can get permission to park it where I have it. Even if I have to move it over a few more feet from where it is, that's fine. I just would hope I wouldn't have to move it because, I mean, the vehicle is registered to the house. I mean, I also do pay taxes on the vehicle to be here.
Right? Are there any questions of the board? No questions?
Questions for me or you guys?
Questions from the board to you.
Oh. Do you guys have any questions for me? I'm sorry.
So Justin, in this picture here, your house is in the center of your property here. Your garage is on the topmost section of the property. Correct?
Let me see.
I don't know if you could see that.
Yeah,
image.
it's kind of a funky view, but yeah, that is correct. It's basically dead in the center.
And this is where the
RV is, right next to the
is.
garage.
Okay. Just want to make sure what I saw on the ground is portrayed properly in here.
Yeah.
Is there any other spot on the property where this could be stored? I realize it's next to your garage.
The only other physical place really would be on my front lawn, and basically then I'd have more other neighbors complaining. I mean, where it is basically realistically, it's probably the most ideal because it is a partially, the previous owners had paved part way in, so it's kind of like sits part on a half driveway, and then part on the grass. I mean, that's because of the sheer weight of the RV. I mean, that is probably the most ideal place to have it without having to worry about it sinking into the grass and everything, because it is on partial pavement. I mean, I did measure from the road. I mean, right now where I didn't, because before where I had it originally, it was right on pretty much on the road, but I did move it over and it actually is now theoretically 10 feet back, but I still was told I had to take it to the zoning and board of appeals because of how much of a stink my neighbor made it to Rick Rochelle. Even though he still wanted to remain anonymous, I basically, to plead my case, had to go this far. I mean, it is technically 10 feet from the right of way, but because we're on the side, according to this way the house is zoned, Bell Acres considered road frontage, and according to the town, you're not supposed to have anything parked on within so many feet of a road frontage. And I know that I did put in for the hardship. I do live on a corner lot that actually borders 3 streets.
Questions? All right. Is there anybody in the audience wishing to speak in favor or against the application? Anybody wishing to speak in favor or against the application? Third and final time, anybody in the audience wanting to speak in favor or against the application? All right. Sensing none, do I have a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Made by Mary Ann, do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Kelly Davis. Roll call, please.
Maurice LaRosa,
Yes.
Andrew Banowitz,
Yes.
Mary Ann Turner, yes. Charlie Masterbirdy,
Yes.
Kelly Davis.
Yes.
Five zero zero. Hey Mo, you ready?
I have a motion to approve.
Well, can we
Motion
have
to
the
approve.
discussion first? I
Discussion.
can't hear you.
You have a motion to approve, then discussion.
Right, and they approved it. 500.
But that was to close the public hearing, because that's what everybody wanted to do before.
Okay. Mo LaRosa,
Yes. Well, we
Andrew
need a mo-
Banowitz.
We need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, you're killing me, guys, because I already got it down here. So Kelly,
And now we have discussion.
okay, Kelly, you are the winner. Andrew, you're the second.
Now we can have discussion, Mary Ann.
You want to take a vote?
No.
We don't vote to
Okay.
approve or disapprove before we
Okay.
do,
Okay,
so we're in discussion.
all right. I went out and looked at the property. He is exactly correct. He has 3 frontages. Very odd. We've had 2. 3 is a winner, I think, in my 12 years of being on ZBA.
I mean, if you want to be fair, if
I
you look
can't
up.
talk.
Sorry.
Stop. I told you.
We're closed.
We can't. I'm already in trouble. And I believe that he does have a hardship from his property. He only has what he has, and he has made I believe, from what I saw, and I drove around and around. It was aggravating the neighbors yesterday because I kept driving in circles, looking at the property. I think he has made a concerted effort to keep this trailer as close to his garage as possible. I mean, maybe he can scooch it over a little, but really and truly, I think he's used his property in a way that's the best that's possible for the things he has on it. So personally, I think that the property is causing him his problem because of his 3 streets. And he has no way to put that RV behind his property in the proper manner because he has no behind.
Else?
I guess my thought was just what goes on when it's not this RV and it's a different RV, because obviously that's not going to be something that lasts forever. So I don't know. I've wrestled with this in other towns with clients on the same issue, and I just don't know what the right answer is.
Andrew, because when I was driving around, I saw a variety of things, and I will go to the chairman on this. I saw a property that had 2 RVs in the front of their property. I saw one that had a container on their property. I've seen boats in the front of the house. I mean, it's the problem of the area.
I drive through this town daily for about 12 hours. And you can see a lot of things. The problem is until it gets turned in, it's not a problem. This one got turned in. You don't approve it just because everybody else is doing it. And of course you don't say, okay, Jen, go out and get everybody else for doing it wrong too. However, this gentleman does have a legitimate hardship. The regulation in town says it has to be behind the rear of the house. He doesn't really have one of those. So his property is a legitimate hardship, having 3 roadsides. I understand your concern, Andrew, and I think with a condition that it can be for an RV only, we don't open up a can of worms just allowing it to be for anything. Do you know what I'm saying?
That makes sense, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, just so you know, we did lose our secretary.
Yeah, I guess I didn't see her on here anymore. We'll give her a second to come back up.
I am recording this. So she, if she doesn't get back on, we've got a recording of this.
Laura, it doesn't show up as you're recording it.
I pressed record.
Here, I started recording it.
Oh,
but
right, you're recording it, not me. That's right.
Well, now I am, but we also have ETV on here too, so.
Yeah, yeah.
I was gonna say, can we let
That's right,
everybody
I'm
know
not
ahead of
hosting
time
this
that-
one.
Can we let everybody know ahead of time that it's being recorded? Otherwise.
All
we'll
meetings are
probably-
always recorded.
Well, the Zoom meeting is new. And I think in keeping with the law, so we don't violate any laws, we should just tell everybody it's being recorded.
Yeah, certainly, we could always
Just a
state that at the
suggestion.
beginning of a meeting.
Just a suggestion.
Yeah,
Because I know there's some laws out there.
yeah. But
Um,
statutorily, we have to record this, not just for COVID, but even if we were in-house, we'd be recording it.
All right, I
So-
guess we've lost Mary Ann, but we'll continue.
Yeah, Mary Ann's gone too.
Yeah, I don't know where she went.
I wonder if there's some power outages.
So Andrew, does that take care of what you were thinking?
Yeah, I mean, that and maybe just limiting the size of it too. I mean, right now, I guess he has what he has out there, but what if it becomes like a tour bus type of thing that takes up the whole space,
Yeah, and I don't know the size of what's out there. That's the problem.
Right. Well, that's my question, I guess, to you is there a box that we're trying to fill here or what?
I can answer that question. It's 29 feet.
Unfortunately, we're not allowed to let you. I'll pretend I didn't hear it. Andrew, apparently it's 29 feet.
Mo, I've got a question.
Go ahead, Charlie.
So it's completely contained within his property lines though, correct?
Correct.
Like none of it's on town property right now, correct?
Right. He said he's 10 feet from the road.
Okay. I have no problem.
And I'm good with that as long as a camper or RV that doesn't exceed the 29 feet that he's currently got.
Can you make that a condition?
We can. And that way there, you know, he can't put dump trucks there, he can't put a semi trailer there, he can't put, you know, it's specifically, we're granting this for an RV.
Perfect.
Okay. Am I correct with that, Lori?
That would be correct. You can do that. It's a great
And
thing.
the staff report shows pictures of the right of way at about 10 feet from the side of the road. So as long as he's 10 feet
Right.
back.
So, and I think that'll solve his issue. He gets to keep his RV there, and you know, he can get other ones if this one goes away and he needs another one, but he just can't go any bigger. Okay. Anybody else have anything?
I do have one quick question. I know that you guys are talking.
You have to ask it of staff, sir.
All right, sorry.
The public hearing's been closed, and that's the way it's gotta be.
You could call us tomorrow.
Anybody else have anything?
I just want to just make note of the fact that Mary Ann is off, so you probably, and she didn't make the motion, but certainly make sure that you take notice to who is
Oh,
voting.
she's coming back.
she's
There she
back.
is.
She's back.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Just in time, Marianne.
We lost you.
I know, all of a sudden you were there and then my internet went down in my office.
All right, Marianne, so what we have done so far while you were gone is we have put in a condition that he cannot have this variance will be for a camper or RV only, and it cannot exceed the 29 feet that his current camper is in length.
$29 feet. Okay. Anything else?
That's all we did.
What about the 10 feet from the right of way?
Right.
Well, we don't have to condition that. That's a rule. He can't be in the right of way. He can't be on the roadway. You know, he's gonna have to park it where this one's parked.
Is that one in?
Yeah, he said it was 10 feet in.
Mhm.
Anything else of interest?
Nope, that was it. Anybody have anything else?
I
That was
think
it
if he's not the 10 feet in, his neighbor's gonna be over there with a measuring tape by the sounds of things. So we want to just make sure he stays 10
Yeah,
feet in.
unfortunately, if there's a civil issue going on, then that's beyond us.
Right.
You know, we can't do anything about that.
Well, that's why God invented spray paint.
Right. All right, roll call, please.
Maurice LaRosa,
Yes.
Andrew Abanowitz,
Yes.
Mary Ann Turner, yes. Charlie Masterbirdy,
Yes.
Kelly Davis,
Yes.
500 approved.
Good luck, sir. Make sure you get in touch with the office tomorrow.
So it's approved with one condition.
Yes.
Would it say words like no future RV can exceed more than 29 feet?
Yep. RV/camper. I don't want him to go out and get a camper and somebody calls and says, hey, you were supposed to have an RV.
Okie dokie.
All right, next we have approval of minutes from September 28th.
Oh, did we do the review of bylaws? I know we did move that item on the agenda down.
After the minutes, Jen.
She put it
Okay.
after.
Yeah, that's what I got too.
Everybody have the minutes? Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Made by Mary Ann. Do I have a second?
Second. Second.
Second by Andrew.
Rich?
Oh,
Richard
Rich.
Stoney.
Okay. Sorry, Rich.
No worries. I can see how we look alike with the tie on.
Any discussion?
There's a discussion about the steering committee. Are we going to bring that up this evening to pick who from the ZBA is going to be on the steering committee?
Yeah, we can do that.
Do we want to add it to the agenda?
I defer to Lori on that one, or to Mo. I mean, Lori would have more information on that.
Mr. Chairman, I would like it if you would add that to the agenda this evening, and we'd like to see 1 or 2 members of the ZBA on our POCD steering committee.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we add to the agenda the appointment of ZBA members to the steering committee for the plan of conservation.
Second.
Second.
You need roll call? Shake your head.
Yes.
Mola Rosa,
Yes.
Andrew Abanowitz,
Yes.
Mary Ann Turner, yes. Charlie Master Birdie,
Yes.
Kelly Davis.
Yes.
Okay.
Justin, just so you know, you are all set, so you're welcome to stick around and enjoy the fun. I didn't know if you knew you're good to go.
I wasn't sure. That's what I was trying to type to make sure you were done. So do I just need to call the town tomorrow, or do I come by the town hall just to pick up? Was this approved, or?
Yep, it was approved, and you can give them a call tomorrow and they'll tell you what steps you need to take after this.
Or just come down to zoning and planning, or?
We'll reach out to you. We normally do letters of approval first, so.
All right, thank you very much. I do appreciate your time. Have a good night.
Okay, you want to finish up on the minutes?
Yep.
We did that? We're done with this?
We haven't taken, yeah, we did roll call for the minutes,
Any-
right?
No, we have to vote on
You
minutes,
have
I
to
believe.
do roll call for the minutes.
All those in favor of the minutes? Mola Rosa,
Yes.
Andrew Abanowitz,
Abstain.
Mary Ann Turner, yes. Charlie Master Birdie,
Yes.
and sorry, Kelly Davis.
Yes.
Bylaws.
Jen, you don't want me to sign these and send them to you. You want me to sign them when I come into your office?
Yeah, that's fine, because we need you to sign a few other things too.
Okay, so you have it in the minute and the notes of who abstained and who didn't. You did that? Made that
Yep.
note? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Jen, you're up with the bylaws.
Oh. So, the last time we spoke, there were a few, or at least last time we spoke about the bylaws, there were a couple of changes that the board wanted to see made to them. One was just a quick typo on page 5, just to add in the days after 15. Which we did. The other was page 6. There was some confusion about what the bylaws are trying to get at. I did provide a memo. I don't know if everyone had a chance to go through it. But basically, it's the section that we were reviewing, section 8. The show of hands by those persons present shall not be allowed on any general question presented at a public hearing. The hearing shall be conducted only for the purpose of taking testimony to be considered in deliberations of the regular meeting of the board. We've looked back at previous versions of the ZBA bylaws. That really hasn't changed. And we think that that just really means that in the middle of a public hearing, you can't take a separate vote on something. You have to wait until after the public hearing is done to be taking votes on anything. Does that make sense? Or
Say that again.
Do you have the bylaws in front of you, Mo?
I was looking for them.
Yeah, it's section 8 where we're just talking about, in other words, and Jen, I'm not trying to steal your thunder here, but in other words, all of us need to sit tight and can't do any voting during a public hearing. We
Right.
need to wait till it's closed.
Correct.
Right, that's what we're
Correct.
talking about.
Okay.
I'm sorry, it's been so long. We've looked at these and looked at these and looked at these that I can't even remember looking at these.
well, I did review the meeting tape to get those concerns to make sure I had all of them. And those were the only two that I heard. So
So are we ready to vote on these then, Jen?
we're ready if you are, unless the board has any other concerns with the bylaws that they caught or that they'd like to change in there for you.
Got them whole now. Let's just take the month to read them and we'll vote on them next month. So that way if you find a problem with them, we can address it.
Jen, does it look like we're gonna have something next month?
There are a few things floating out there, but nothing actually filed yet. There are a couple more weeks left though, so.
All right. Correspondent staff reports.
Nope. Picking the ZBA members for the Plan of Conservation.
Okay. Does anybody want to sit on the steering committee?
I will.
What is it?
So the plan of conservation and development is kind of like the master plan and wish list for the next 10 years. And we're trying to put together a steering committee with members from all the different boards and commissions, town council. We'll also be trying to get like a farmer, a businessman, a couple of people like that, maybe somebody from North Central to all sit on it. We go over all the different elements, infrastructure, housing, commercial development, industrial development, town facilities, open space, conservation. There's all sorts of different elements that we'll be going over. We'll be inviting members of the smaller boards, like historic district and beautification committees and things like that, when that element is more prevalent in the discussion. So
Time commitments, planned meetings.
yeah, we probably won't start until January, but we'll probably have a regular monthly meeting. On occasion, we might, if we're doing some more public outreach, we might have another one, but you may not necessarily have to be there. And we're asking that 1 or 2 people, preferably 2, actually join. And that way, if somebody is unable to attend, the other one might be able to, and you can kind of keep up with everything.
How long?
Going to be during the day or at night?
About a year. I mean, it's actually due next April, but I'm not sure if we'll have it done by then.
Meetings during the day or at night?
I anticipate it will be a night meeting just because most people are working. I don't necessarily think it has to start at 7, but for some, that's the only time they can come. So we'll have to, once we get everybody together, we will have to do a poll and try to figure out what the best timing is.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to be considered as an option.
Me too.
Else? If not, hit it.
And Richard, if you join, you could also represent economic development. And
Me
so can
too.
Mary Ann.
Well, guys, it looks like.
We're half that team, aren't we?
Yeah, you kind of are. It's like,
Hey, Rich, you can pick me up.
All right, fair enough.
there you go. You can all take 1 month.
Looks like you two got it. Do we need to vote on it, or?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I said we've only got two that want it. Do we need to vote on it, or just assign it to them?
If I would just agree with that, if that's who you want.
Okay.
They're just appointments by you, Mo.
And
They're
they're
not-
willing to do it.
Mo, they're just appointments by the chairman.
Okay, then Mary Ann and Rich will be the two people from our board.
Excellent. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right, staff reports, anything?
There was that one town attorney opinion regarding 8-11, which came up concerning zoning board of appeals members representing other people before the planning and zoning commission. The town attorney did write an opinion basically saying that if you are a zoning board of appeals member and you would like to represent yourself before the planning and zoning commission, you may do that. You just cannot represent another person before the planning and zoning commission. Outside of that, I also.
Oh, are you talking?
Go ahead, Jen, what were you saying?
Oh, I don't know if you wanted to talk about that. I was going to bring up the list of prior applications, because I put that in your packets as well.
Is that the status list you're
I saw
talking
that,
about?
and we can bring that up, because I want to bring that up anyway.
Okay.
We also have to do the calendar. I don't want to forget that.
So
This is the list, Jennifer, that we talked about in previous meetings of having, just so we'd have visibility of what's floating out there, or is this something, this is that one, right?
yeah, this I actually started from scratch based on what I could access in the office. I went back as far as I could. It goes back to 2014, just showing what applications have come through, their addresses, what type of application they were. I threw in a little description of what the request was for, whether it was approved and denied, and what the status is.
So based on this, we've got 9 Hamilton and 18 Pomeroy still floating out there in some level, which may or may not hit in December.
Correct.
Okay.
But I have a question. We know that they're approved or denied, but how do we know they're in compliance?
I mean, we don't go out and verify like every property that is on here for compliance. The compliance usually comes after the project. I mean, we can ask Rick to inspect something on this list that maybe you feel is not in compliance, or.
Well, we all know.
Well, here's the problem. If something comes in front of us, like, let's take the this trailer, for instance, tonight. If he got denied and we say, okay, he's denied, there's never any action that makes him remove that trailer.
There would be action through zoning enforcement
But
that
then
would have him remove them.
There's several properties over the last 14 years, 13 years that we've heard that as I drive through town, I see that the action that was taken was never resolved. There's one on O'Hare Avenue where a gazebo was supposed to come down 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And there's
It's
still a
still-
gazebo.
Yeah.
There's the berms that were supposed to go up on South Road.
Still not
And
there.
we're 4 years into that one, and we were told the first year, oh, winter's coming, we'll do it in the spring, and the berms still aren't up. I mean,
Right.
there's no action. We make a decision, and they keep what they have anyway.
And that was one of the reasons, Jen, that we always asked for a certificate of compliance. So that they have to say, yep, I did it. Here you go. I thank you for this. But the next step is missing, is knowing they did it.
Okay.
Every one of these properties that's on this sheet, at the end result, should have a signed certificate of compliance. And that's in the regulation. That's not something we made up. I don't know why the town doesn't want to use them. But it's in the regulation and we should be using them.
Mr. Chairman, isn't it because we have found that there's no time window of when the compliance form has to be filed? Is it 5 days? Is it 15? Is it 2 years? Is it never?
Well, it's supposed to be when the project is complete.
But if they've been denied, the project is denied.
Right, but if the project was removing containers out of a backyard,
Correct.
or gazebo, it should be filled out and signed by the zoning enforcement officer at some point when they've gone out and inspected the property and said, okay, the gazebo was down, the containers are gone, or whatever it was.
Right, but that's
But
what I'm getting at.
If we deny something and they were supposed to remove something, but nobody ever goes out and looks, then nothing ever, it was pointless to bring them in front of us.
Right, and I'm in agreement with you because we can look at this document, and again, great document, Jen, because this is exactly what we were looking for, is if we all got bored one weekend and decided to drive from all these things that have come through just since 2014, I will guarantee you that whatever it was we had said, they didn't do it. Somebody didn't do it. And then it becomes our onus, Jen, to call you and say, send Rick out there. Then my guess is going to be, just go with me for a minute. I'm going to get told, sorry, it's 3 years. It's too late.
Yeah. I can look into, I know that we don't, so I have to look into it, but I know that the form that we have for the certificate of zoning compliance is usually filled out and filed by a certified design professional that submits a formal site plan for a project, and the certificate of zoning compliance piece usually comes in through the conditions of approval on the planning and zoning approval.
Well, before any of you that are in the office now were in the office, and we found that we were not using a zoning the compliance form, the town didn't have one. The zoning enforcement officer at the time looked through everything, and we didn't have a form. So this board actually made a form. So there should be something on a file there somewhere with a compliance form that we created. So I've never seen the form you're talking about because we were always told there isn't one. You have to make one. So we made one.
Well,
But
there
we-
is one
we
that
still don't
I
use
know
it.
that I've seen in the office that we've used from time to time, but it's again, it's at the end of like a formal, when people file those types of site plans with design engineers, it's usually for new construction. So there's a condition of approval on the Planning and Zoning Commission approvals that says at the end of a project, so many days before your formal request for a certificate of occupancy, you have to submit your request for a certificate of zoning compliance to the zoning enforcement officer. So if something, again, I have to look into that process. But if something doesn't necessarily have that condition, or they don't have a design professional that signs off on that certificate of zoning compliance form for them and submits it to us with the final as-built. What I'm saying is not every project has that caliber of professional
So how do
review and
we find
approval.
out- How do we find out, say Joe is putting a shed in his backyard? And he came in, everything looked good and he's got his setbacks and everything. So you just take his word for it and he drops his shed and he's 2 feet from the property line. But we never go look at any of that. We just say, okay, it looked good on paper, so he's doing it right. Does
We
nobody
we
ever
would look at
inspect?
that because a building permit would be required. And at that point, before the building permit CO is issued, you go out there and inspect it. But you're
But they
you're
don't do that.
you're
They
you're
don't do
bringing
that
up
on a
some very
shed.
valid points. And
Lori, they don't do that on a shed because nobody's getting a CO for a shed. Nobody's getting a CO for a deck. Nobody.
yes, they are.
Yeah, yes, they do, Mo. When I put my shed up, they came out and took a look,
Yeah,
and they gave me a CO.
The
Yeah,
building
any
That was only 4 years ago, so.
Okay.
yeah.
What has
The
happened
only
in the
thing that
past,
doesn't
so I'm
have a
assuming
building
it's still
permit-
happening, is the building department goes out and the building department says, yep, the shed looks good, the shed's sturdy, but they don't look at the setbacks because they're not there for zoning.
Well, the zoning
We've been
department
told
and the
that.
building
We've been
department work
told that in
together.
the past. They don't look at zoning because they don't know the zoning.
But Rick does.
But
Rick goes out,
Rick's not from the building department going out to sign off on a CO.
but we have to sign off on the CO, so we could do our own inspection.
Okay, all right.
The CO's not issued unless we sign off on it.
Well,
But I mean, but you are bringing up some very valid points, though, and it sounds like there's a couple very specific sites that you know of that are not compliant, and it would be interesting if those are. But this is certainly something we could look into further because there's different paths that the applicants take after they get a variance. They might not have to go to planning and zoning. They might not even need a building permit. If they're I don't even know why they wouldn't, but I
Well,
mean, we
one of
certainly
them was an
look at.
automotive location.
Pardon?
One of them is that I mentioned is an automotive, came to us for automotive approval. And
Okay.
that is over on South Road. And part of what planning
You
and
know
zoning
the
told
address,
them,
though.
huh?
Do you have the address?
Yeah, it's where Joey's Bosco place is. I'll look it
Yeah,
up.
I don't
Laura.
know the address.
I believe it's 157, and if it's the project I'm thinking of, we do have bonds in place for
Right, but
that
this,
project.
yeah, and that one got a little messy, Jen, because they came in for a K7. We're gonna run an auction. It wasn't gonna be verbal. It was gonna be, passive. Nobody was gonna be there. They didn't have a septic they had a septic issue, blah, 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 all those things. Bottom line is, they just ignored us. Next thing you know, they opened up a body shop and never came into planning and zoning to even get that looked at. Mo, just for you to be bored, on December 19th of 2012, we talked about it in our minutes in great length. Section 8.
Right.
If I could figure out how to download it, I will share it with you people. And then there's also a certificate of compliance that Jen's talking about. That's 2019, but really and truly, it's more of a certificate of zoning and land compliance. They're kind of, but we've had this discussion, at least me, Mo, and Andrew, more time to nauseum, and we just seem to doesn't seem to ever stick. But I'm pretty sure, Jen, that Rick does not want more things to do, but I know that we're in the process of hiring more blight inspectors. Did we do that already?
Oh, it's not been
We're
advertised on
trying.
the website.
We still only have one. I've got an interview with somebody, I think Thursday. So hopefully.
Why is that not on the website?
It was. I don't know whether it's closed. I don't think it was closed because we still have another one.
It's not on the town website.
Then they may have closed it. They have their own little time frames to keep these things up, so.
Because I actually went online when I was first told about it, and I've not seen it on the town website at all.
I did. I mean, I haven't looked, this week, but I certainly saw it on there because I wanted to make sure it was there. So,
Well, I've got an idea that when you get these people, that maybe as a sidebar project, they could go out and look and see. They don't have to do anything. They don't even have to get out of the car. Just glance and see if whatever we said to do is done. And we probably aren't going to be able to do much about it for the ones that go back to 2014, but it sure would be nice to know.
Well, you actually can,
maybe we
because
could go back a year or something, but I mean,
They don't get to
they
keep-
fall
they-
under the ordinance and not the planning and zoning regulations. So the two different
Okay.
guidelines. So, but if they have extra time, we could do it. But right now, we've got one person doing 3 people's job. And he's pretty flat out because they're all part-time. But if they have a chance, if they're got some downtime, we could ask them to go and check some of them.
You know what, Mr. Chairman? I've got plenty of time. I may just go do it myself and I'll just let you know what I learned.
And Marianne, where you stated before, after 3 years, they get to keep it,
Yeah, well, that's the question.
that's not true once they've been cited for it.
Gotcha.
Once
Only
we
if
make
there's
a
been actionable, well, we have to actually take action. We can, if we cite them and we just let it drop, then that the 3-year rule still stands, but it depends on what the action was. Whether we just gave them a notice or a letter is different than the cease and desist and follow through.
So Jen, was the bond ever released for that other property?
I do not believe so.
Okay. I was just wondering. It's been several years, a few at least. So, okay. Anybody have anything else to?
What was
add
this
about-
job? What was the name of the job? It's not a building official, is it?
No, the building official, I think that closed. Actually, I'm
Oh.
not sure if that's closed. That's not closed yet. It's for property maintenance officer, part-time.
It's not here.
Okay, then it probably closed. When it closes, they don't keep it up there. It was up there for at least a month.
Okay. We have to, everybody has a list of dates for next year. If you can look through those, we have to make sure these dates are okay with us.
Question on the November one. I know we opted for this week instead of last week, which would have been the 4th week of the month. Is that typically the way? Because that's not how this is set up. This is set up on the Monday of Thanksgiving week versus the Monday following.
Set up for the last Monday of the month.
30th, then the 21, well, the last Monday of the month in November is the 29th.
Which would be nice.
Right, which would be comparable to what we're doing this year. That's
Yeah,
why I
so
asked.
I don't know why that's there like that. I'd rather do it on the 29th.
Me too.
So the November 22nd is being changed to the 29th.
Well, does anybody else have a problem with that?
No, make it the 29th.
I didn't know if that was your standard. I mean, this being my first.
No, I'm not
Holiday
sure how
rotation.
that ended up there like that.
Yeah, because it's the 4th
Oh,
Monday
because
of
it's
the
fourth
month.
Monday, yeah,
Right, and we have to do exactly what we're doing
every year.
and change it. Right. Now, in December, they make a note of it. The last one would be the 27th, but the 20th pushes us into the week of Christmas. My preference would be to push it back to the 27th.
I would agree with that.
I would agree with that.
Do we have to take a vote?
Yeah, we
Yes.
should. Yeah, Catherine, do you have a problem with any of these or Charlie?
Do we need a
I don't know.
motion to take a vote or just take the vote?
We have a motion. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Jen.
I'm gonna move that we change the November date from the 22nd to the 29th and the December date from the, sorry,
20th.
20th to the 27th
27.
for 2021.
Well, let me ask, the staff made that recommendation for December. What holiday conflicts do you see after Christmas?
So,
That's what it says.
and, oh, go ahead, Jen.
Oh, I was just gonna say just that it's the week between Christmas and New Year's, and
Yeah,
Right.
Christmas is
I
on a
would think that
Saturday
would be a
next
lull.
year.
I wouldn't want to do it before Christmas because everybody's busy, Christmas shopping, getting stuff ready. So I just wanted to know what your thought process was because that was the recommendation you guys made. So, okay.
Okay, we have a motion. Who's seconding it?
I'll second it.
Okay. Maurice LaRosa,
Yes.
Andrew Abanowitz,
Yes.
Mary Ann Turner, yes. Charlie Masterbirdy,
Yes.
Kelly Davis,
Yep.
passes with the changes.
Right. I think that's it unless anybody has anything else.
I could
I
turn
have-
on Christmas music.
I have one question. It could wait till we're done recording and done formally with me. It's just more of education on my part, but
Go for it.
in the first ZBA review tonight, the comment was made on the premises. Does that normally mean outside the building or inside the building as well? So just so I understand from these types of
It was
things.
for outside the building.
Right, but if the term is on the premises, and that was the term that was used in part, does that mean inside as well?
Can you give me
Or
context? Are you talking about when he said, who said it?
when we created the condition on the approval, that there were 6 vehicles and they had to be in working order or something along those lines, 6 vehicles on the premises. That's all.
No, I don't know if that's what I wrote. Hold on.
I know that the prior condition was worded to say stored
No,
on the
that's
premises.
not what it says. It says no inoperable or junk vehicles can be stored outside.
Okay, I might have been thinking of what Jennifer had read from the original one then. Okay,
Hold on. What we voted on was to move the original motion, the
Right.
original one forward. So whatever Jen has written down is what needs to be there.
Whatever is in that 1970 such and such, and I've written it down multiple times tonight, and that's what I wrote.
What did it say, Jen?
It said, approval is contingent upon the restriction that no inoperative or junk vehicles are to be stored on the premises.
yeah, and I couldn't ask because you had closed the public hearing and I wasn't a sitting board member, so I couldn't ask that for that clarification tonight, but, and more just, is that on premises mean inside his bays as well as outside, or?
It shouldn't, because what he puts in his bays,
Yeah, but on the premises means the site. But I'm guessing the intent was to have it outside.
Right, and I
thing
mean,
is-
I understand that was the intent of what we were talking about. I might be too black and white and focused on the words being used here. Just didn't know if premises meant inside the building as well as outside, right? If he can store 6 vehicles in his bays, like he said, is that the 6 vehicles?
Well, I'm very confused right now because I must have read at least 3 times to you people the words stored outside. I never wrote down premises.
I really believe that intent from 1970 was that you can't have it outside because they don't want it to turn into a junkyard
Right.
outside. I think that the way you wrote it, Marion, is probably a better way to have written it because the intent is that you don't want them stored outside, and the intent is to approve them to allow repairs inside.
I believe that was our intent tonight. That's why I had made the statement that you could have as many as you could fit into the building. We were talking about outside.
You clarified that.
I believe the intent was for outside, Rich.
I think we need to be very careful as a board, and this is where we all need to stick our 20 cents in, is to make sure what Rich just said, what we hear, what we say, and what we write down are consistent. Because I heard and I wrote, but Rich, you heard something different, and you should have probably asked me.
I don't know if I could though. Public hearing was
Yeah.
closed.
No, we were in discussion. Right, and
We can speak.
when we were talking, you can. Where you can't speak as an alternate is when we vote, when we move to vote. But during discussion, you can talk.
I thought it was once public hearing is closed, alternates couldn't talk.
During discussion, is that, which is it? I believe that they can talk during discussion. And I may be wrong because
No,
hell,
Mo's shaking his head no.
which is it, Mo?
They are allowed to speak up until the public hearing is closed.
Yeah,
That's what it is. So they have to stop talking.
yeah. Yeah, you can speak during the public hearing even though you're not voting.
However, Rich, if there's something going on that's wrong, you can always call for a point of order.
Leah,
Okay.
Leah,
Figure out what we need to figure out.
you don't know what you're doing.
And that would be the point of order for clarification of the term or whatever. Okay. Thank you. This is why I asked.
Good ask.
Always learning experience.
Anything else?
Just really quickly, my last thing is that you did receive a list of your names, your emails, addresses, phone numbers. Just please, if you could take a look. If you see anything that's incorrect, you can just let me know. You can email me and I'll make sure that it's corrected. But the town clerk's office has asked us to make sure that that list is up to date.
And then you sent us the zoning regs too. Thank you.
Yeah.
I need to change my phone number. Do you need me to send that to you?
Yeah, you can email me.
Okay. And I asked Jen offline if she would, if I found this sheet to be very helpful and we should all keep it someplace. But I'd like to have our terms of office added to a column if possible, so that we're not always guessing when we're in and when we're out. So she was gonna noodle on that.
Thank you, Jennifer.
All right, if
Okay.
there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We're adjourned.
Merry Christmas if we don't see you guys.
Have a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. Take care, guys.
Night, everybody.
Bye all.
Bye.
Hey, Charlie, what kind of stuff can I buy from your farm?